You stand at the edge of silence, feeling the hush press against your eardrums like a weight. Drop everything you think you know about peace, tear it from your hands, and witness what unfolds when stillness fractures into chaos. A storm coils beneath your skin, a restless serpent of longing that thrums in your veins. You taste it on your tongue, a craving for the wild, the unpredictable, the raw clash of opposites. You have been taught to seek calm, to build walls of routine and safety, yet you find yourself drawn into the very maelstrom you've been warned against. In the half-light of your mind, you glimpse a paradox. Serenity feels like a shackle, and chaos an intoxicating freedom. You remember the lull of lullabies that once soothed you, now sounding like false promises. You recall the moments of quiet when the universe seemed to hold its breath, and you realized how hollow that breath was. And so you break the silence, conjuring storms of emotion, daring fate to follow. What is this hunger that pulls you toward disorder? Why does the calm man bore you, while the one who shatters your expectations makes your heart thunder? You chase the flash of lightning across your soul, craving its scorch, even when you know it will leave scars. You wonder if you are drawn not to danger, but to the revelation that follows its tempest, that in the wreckage lies something more vivid than any placid dawn. See the mirror of your desire, a ripple of doubt and a flash of fierce hunger. You have learned to disguise fear as excitement, risk as adventure. You tell yourself that turmoil is creativity unleashed, that chaos is the crucible in which you are reforged. Yet buried beneath that conviction is a whisper, an echo from Carl Jung, that in every upheaval you confront the shadow within you, the hidden self yearning to break free from your own constraints. Consider Nietzsche's words. One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star. Feel that churn beneath your ribs. It is not mere rebellion, but a primal beat demanding expression. The orderly world offers no canvas bold enough for your spirit. Only through the wild strokes of passion can you paint your truth. Imagine a woman's reflection in shattered glass, each fragment showing a different version of her face. No single shard holds the whole, yet together they reveal the kaleidoscope of her being. She craves chaos, not to destroy herself, but to see every unfiltered facet, beautiful, terrible, and alive. She tests boundaries like a storm tests a coastline, discovering strength in places she never knew existed. And yet amid the whirlwind, a question lingers, echoing like distant thunder. If you crave chaos so fiercely, what will you do when the storm finally leaves you standing in emptiness? When the winds have passed and the world falls silent once more, will you embrace the calm you once feared? Or will you chase the next tremor of sensation, forever dancing on the edge of chaos? You have been taught to smooth every ripple in your life, to cultivate harmony as if it were a sacred garden, yet beneath that manicured surface a restless undercurrent stirs. You grow up hearing, keep calm, stay composed, never rock the boat, and for a while you comply, clipping your edges until you feel like a polished stone, lacking texture, lacking spark. But inside something rebels. Look back to your earliest memories, the hush that fell whenever you spoke too loudly, the sideways glances when you showed anger, the disappointed sigh when your tears stained the sheets. You learned to equate chaos with shame, to hide your storms lest you become unfeminine, difficult, or too much. Yet paradoxically, that very suppression seeded the hunger for upheaval. You discover that when you finally let loose, you feel terrifyingly alive. Carl Jung called this the attraction of the shadow, the part of you were told to bury, the unruly self that demands acknowledgement. Every time you yield to chaos, an impulsive argument, a reckless decision, you are not rebelling against the world, but excavating the parts of yourself you exiled long ago. In that excavation, there is both ecstasy and terror. Ecstasy because something long dormant awakens, terror because you realize just how powerful and unpredictable you truly are. Historically, women have been confined to roles of dutiful calm. Rousseau and Victorian decorum preached obedience and placidity. Deviance was punished, labeled hysteria, or hysteria's cousin, emotional instability. But Nietzsche, ever the provocateur, argued that growth springs from struggle, that the snake which cannot cast its skin has to die. as well the minds which are prevented from changing their opinions. They cease to be mind. You feel that truth in your bones without the shedding of old skins, without stirring the pot you suffocate in stasis. Modern psychology echoes this. Research into trauma bonding shows how unpredictability can foster intense attachment. When the world feels too tame, you crave the shock that breaks the pattern, no matter how damaging. You might find yourself drawn to volatile relationships, convinced that the high of conflict equals genuine passion. Yet Viktor Frankl's studies in meaning-making remind you suffering becomes bearable when it leads to purpose. Your chaos is not mere self-destruction. It is an unconscious plea for authenticity, a search for experiences that affirm your existence. In your family lineage, perhaps your grandmother endured repression, her tears hidden behind lace curtains, her laughter stifled in parlors. She passed down a legacy of silent endurance. But you inherited something more, a latent fury demanding expression. That fury is a lineage of its own, one that Nietzsche might have applauded as the will to power, the will to assert your true self unvarnished by societal niceties. The social media age amplifies this tension. You scroll through feeds of curated perfection, smiling faces, pristine homes, filtered sunsets. You feel an itch beneath your skin, a craving to disrupt the facade. You post a raw confession, provoke a debate, share an unflattering photo. It's not vanity. It's an existential assertion, I am real, even if I am messy. Each notification heart-like comment is a pulse that tells you you exist beyond the quietude. Yet even as you embrace these moments of chaos, a question lingers. What if this force you unleash is not merely rebellion, but revelation? Jung taught that when the shadow emerges, it brings gifts, creativity, charisma, depth. Your dramatic outburst, your whirlwind romance, your roller coaster career leaps, they are not random tantrums, but signals of an inner life bursting the seams. The chaos you crave is the universe's way of forcing you to expand your boundaries. Still, the roots run deeper. Frankl's logotherapy reminds you that you search for meaning even in suffering. When your world tilts, you feel alive, because you are writing your own epic, resisting a narrative that would drown you in ordinariness. You provoke storms so that you might find your center in the eye, in the momentary clarity that follows the tempest. And so you stand at the crossroads of two legacies, one that praises calm as virtue, and one that elevates chaos as catalyst. You feel the tension of history, psychology, and philosophy converging in your choices. The invisible force that shaped your life, the demand for unpredictability, is not a flaw, but a fingerprint, a unique signature of your soul's insistence to be seen. The tension you felt isn't just an inner drama, it ripples outward, shaping every corner of your existence. Think of a pond, one stone tossed sends concentric waves to the farthest shore. In your life, each burst of chaos unfurls consequences you may scarcely recognize, until you find yourself caught in storms of emotion, health crises, relationship breakdowns, and cultural ripples that you never intended. You remember that night you walked away from a calm dinner with friends because their polite conversation felt like a cage. Hours later you lie awake, heart-pounding, replaying every word. That impulse to flee, that sudden eruption of frustration fractured trust. The warmth you craved became distant embers. In your mind, you justify it as authenticity, yet in your partner's eyes they see confusion and hurt, a person they can't predict. Your craving for disruption sabotages the stability you secretly long for. Physiologically, this pattern etches itself into your nervous system. Studies on chronic stress reveal that frequent highs and lows can dysregulate cortisol levels, leaving you wired and fatigued even when the chaos subsides. You feel jittery when you should feel calm, exhausted when serenity arrives. Your body becomes a battleground of adrenaline and weariness. You tell yourself it's the price of living vividly, but beneath that mantra is a creeping exhaustion that no burst of drama can mask. Your friendships bear the brunt too. Remember Lisa, who once adored your daring spirit. Now she tiptoes around you, uncertain when the next upheaval will strike. Invitations dwindle. Conversation becomes hollow. You recoil, interpreting their distance as judgment, doubling down on chaotic gestures to prove your worth. You test their loyalty with dramatic reveals and sudden withdrawals, only to find the pond's waves have eroded the shoreline of your connections. In the workplace, your reputation as the wild card precedes you. On some days, your bold ideas electrify the room. On others, your volatility derails projects, leaving colleagues exhausted. Opportunities slip away when managers fear your unpredictability more than they value your passion. You tell yourself you thrive on pressure, yet you watch potential promotions drift into safer hands. The cultural consequences stack higher. Social media amplifies your every outburst, clips of heated arguments, confessional rants, impulsive adventures. Views spike, followers multiply for a while, but algorithms favor novelty, not nuance. Soon your wildest moments become yesterday's news, replaced by someone else's chaos. In chasing the storm, you become beholden to it, a performer trapped by your own spectacle. Emotionally, the toll is profound. After a crescendo of drama, you crash into emptiness so deep that the calm you once feared feels alien. You equate stillness with death, yet the alternative, constant turbulence, drains your resilience. You learn to fear the lull as much as you fear the storm. You become addicted to the cycle, seduced by chaos, shattered by its aftermath, craving it again to refuel your sense of aliveness. Relationships formed in tumult carry shadows. You bond fiercely with those who share your hunger for intensity, the partner who matches your fire, the friend who revels in late-night philosophical battles. But these bonds are built on the shaky ground of adrenaline, not the foundation of steady presence. When one storm subsides and the next fails to ignite, you're left with an emptiness that no new eruption can fill. Consider the broader cultural tapestry. You are part of a generation that romanticizes hustle as chaos. Productivity gurus celebrate burnout as badge of honor. Influencers flaunt their emotional breakdowns for clicks. This feedback loop validates your pattern. You feel justified. Chaos is the crucible of creativity, the testament to your authenticity. Yet Viktor Frankl's insights haunt you. Meaning isn't found in suffering alone, but in how you choose to respond. When suffering becomes your identity, you lose sight of the purpose it was meant to serve. Even your creativity bears scars. The wildest ideas spring from moments of upheaval, drafts written at 3 a.m. in a fury of inspiration, but editing demands calm, meticulous work. You flit from project to project, chasing the next spark, abandoning the last before it can mature. Your potential masterpieces lie half-finished relics of storms long past. In craving the chaos of creation, you forsake the discipline that makes it endure. Health too is not spared. Nights spent replaying conflicts wreck your sleep cycles. Late-night chemical highs, coffee to stay awake, wine to unwind, become rituals that disrupt your body's rhythm. Over time, you wonder why fatigue shadows your days, why your immune system falters, why your mind sometimes feels scattered as if trying to hold on to too many fragments at once. And yet, in each unintended aftermath, you glimpse a hidden truth. Your craving for chaos reveals an unacknowledged void. A craving not just for drama, but for depth, for connection, for experiences that pierce the veil of mundanity. In those moments of fallout, you realize that chaos isn't the enemy. It's the messenger carrying clues about what you most need. Authenticity, creativity, meaning, presence. You punish your world because you long to be seen, to feel every shade of your own humanity. This unseen consequence, the paradox of seeking life through self-inflicted turmoil, shapes your world more powerfully than you admit. You stand amidst the debris of your own storms, questioning whether the price you pay is too steep. Yet the hunger remains pulsing in your veins, reminding you that only by mapping the fallout can you chart a path toward a new equilibrium. You stand amid the wreckage of your own making, heart pounding in the hollow between crashes. The pull of chaos still claws at your mind, whispering that only the next upheaval will prove you alive. But imagine just for a moment that you could seize the tempest instead of being tossed by it. What if the real rebellion is not more chaos, but a radical reorientation of your relationship with it? Begin by listening truly. listening to the silence that terrifies you. Place your hand over the rhythmic rise and fall of your chest. Feel the unyielding gravity of your body against the world. You've believed that stillness equals stagnation, that calm denies your essential fire. Yet the fiercest stars burn brightest in the depths of the night sky. Your spark needs a canvas of darkness, not an endless blaze. Here's the counterintuitive shift. Treat chaos not as an enemy to conquer, but as a teacher to be befriended. Invite disorder into a contained space, a journal, an art canvas, a midnight conversation, so that you can explore its landscape without surrendering your peace. When the urge to erupt comes, lean into it with curiosity. Where does it begin? What shape does it take? What old story is it trying to retell? This practice transforms explosive energy into raw material for self-discovery. Next, adopt Nietzsche's concept of amor fati, loving your fate. You've cursed the cycles of turmoil, but each fracture has revealed a hidden facet of your soul. Embrace those fractures as not mistakes but fingerprints of your becoming. You might try a ritual light, a candle in a dark room. Place broken pieces of a cherished object before you and speak aloud what each break taught you. In naming the gift within the break, you reclaim the shards as wisdom, not wounds. Shift your daily structure to mirror this new alliance. Carve out windows of deliberate disruption, creative sprints, wild dance in solitude, provocative prompts in your journal, followed by periods of undisturbed calm, a silent walk at dawn, a meditative breath practice, a single cup of tea without screens. You are not banishing chaos, you are weaving it into a tapestry with threads of peace, each complementing the other. Lean on the insight of Viktor Frankl, meaning arises when you choose your attitude toward unavoidable suffering. When conflict strikes, ask yourself, what is this moment asking me to learn? You might respond by painting a metaphor. Envision the conflict as a river's rapids, dizzying, dangerous, but carving deeper channels in the bedrock of your being. How can you navigate these rapids without capsizing? Perhaps by skillful strokes of mindful reflection, by choosing to paddle toward growth instead of being swept away. Invite ritual to anchor these transformations. Create a chaos covenant with yourself. A written code that outlines how you will engage with turmoil. It might read, acknowledge the impulse without judgment. Pause for 3 breaths before acting. Record the feeling in a chaos log. Transform the energy into an act of creation within 24 hours. By codifying your rebellion against reactive destruction, you harness the storm's power and channel it with intention. Then reimagine your relationships through this new lens. When you feel the urge to test a partner, pause and ask, what truth does this test seek? Instead of dramatic confrontations, invite candid curiosity. Show me what you feel when I push you. This disarms the cycle of sabotage and replaces it with co-created exploration. You discover that vulnerability, far from a weakness, is a portal to intimacy. The fear that fueled your chaos becomes the key that unlocks deep connection. In your creative endeavors, shift from chasing the next volcanic burst of inspiration to cultivating a steady forge of imagination. Set a modest daily goal, 100 words, a simple sketch, and honor it. Let the cumulative rhythm of small, consistent acts carve a masterpiece. You learn that the slow burn, like the steady heartbeat of a mountain, yields peaks loftier than any flash of volcanic ash. Ultimately, this rebellion is an alchemy of opposites. You do not deny your craving for chaos, you transform it. You do not reject calm, you integrate it. You become the eye of your own storm, a place of profound peace within the swirl. In doing so, you claim ownership of the force that once owned you. Feel the first tremor of this new ground beneath your feet, a subtle shift, like the turning of the earth at dawn. You are no longer the plaything of your own wildness, but its wise steward. The chaos still beckons, but you have learned to dance with it, not be consumed by it. You have learned to be both storm and sanctuary, to wield chaos as an instrument of revelation rather than destruction. Now at the threshold of your own becoming, you confront the ultimate truth that reframes every quiver of longing and every shattered fragment of your soul. In the crucible of your journey, you discover that chaos is not an addendum to life, it is its very architect. Imagine the cosmos unfolding in a single breath, galaxies spiraling in brilliant disarray. Disorder births stars, collisions forge new worlds. Your own psyche mirrors that cosmic dance. Each upheaval, each rupture in your identity has catalyzed the emergence of hidden facets, creativity, empathy, courage that could not manifest in a vacuum of certitude. The paradox resolves itself. Chaos is not the antithesis of order, but its co-author. Feel your breath deepen as this truth settles in your bones. You once believed calm was the sanctuary you craved, only to find it suffocating. You chased turbulence, mistaking it for freedom, until you learned to fold both into a single tapestry. Now you realize that safety lies not in static peace, but in dynamic equilibrium, the harmony of opposing forces in perpetual conversation. Recall Nietzsche's star dancing in the void. Without your internal turbulence, that star could not shimmer. Recall Jung's alchemical union of shadow and light. Your depth is born from the embrace of every contradiction. Recall Frankl's assertion that meaning emerges through suffering. Your trials were not curses, but the very loom on which your purpose was woven. This is your ultimate truth. You are both creator and creation of your own chaos. You are the knife that cuts and the wound that bleeds. You are the storm's roar and the silent witness at its center. In naming this paradox, you transcend it. You become like the eye of a hurricane, still clear and yet alive with the world's wild energy. See your life as a living mandala, each swirling pattern born of past dissonance and future possibility. When you next feel the itch of disruption, you will not recoil in shame or plunge recklessly into drama. You will pause in the eye, remember the weave of light and dark, and choose to act with fierce compassion. You will recognize that every spark of chaos carries a lesson, to probe a wound for healing, to break and rebuild stronger, to dance on lightning without fear of the burn. This mastery is not a final destination, but a horizon that shifts with each step. The tension between chaos and calm will never vanish. It is the pulse of your aliveness. But now you know how to listen to it, to honor the tremors as messages, to translate their rhythms into acts of creation, rather than scenes of destruction. Picture yourself years from now looking back on this moment. You will see the tremors you once called mistakes as the bedrock of your wisdom, the relationships you rebuilt, the art you completed, the purpose you lived, all were born of your willingness to embrace the storm within. Your life will be a testament not to the absence of chaos, but to the artful dance you choreographed between every rise and fall. And so you stand at the edge of a new dawn, not fearing the winds to come, but ready to receive them. You know that the greatest power lies in integration, the alchemical marriage of your most tumultuous desires with your deepest yearning for peace. In this union resides your authentic self, neither fractured nor serene, but whole in every paradox. Let this vision settle into your spirit like a seed in fertile soil. Tend it with mindfulness, water it with curiosity. Let it grow through both storms and calm seasons. For your life is a living testament to the cosmic truth that from chaos blossoms creation, and from creation emerges meaning. What new constellation of self will you reveal when the next storm clears?